Hello everyone, my name is AndrewAJT, and today I'm going to show you guys how to solo Dagannoth Kings. So I've done this boss a lot. I have over 12,000 killed, and I only have one of the pets, but I really enjoy doing this boss. I'm going to show you guys my method of soloing them, which is a good mix of efficiency and AFK, which I think is a way that a lot of people like to play the game. I'd recommend you have around base 80 stats for this. You don't really need them. If you don't have them, there is a way to solo just Rex and Prime, 2 out of the 3 Dagannoth Kings, which I'll show you towards the end of this video. But because they are 3 bosses, you definitely need to have decent stats for this. So one feature that I really like to use when going to Dagannoth Kings is the bank tags feature on RuneLite. So in your bank, if you right click an item and you click edit tags, you can put in a little key here, and I'll just put in DKs. And once you do this, once you search this item, it'll appear. So if you actually do this for every item that you bring to Dagannoth Kings, they will show up and you can gear very quickly. And this is helpful because there's lots of items you need for Dagannoth Kings. It might take you a couple minutes to actually set this up, but it's really worth it. So here's my gear and inventory minus some substitutions which I have, which I'll talk about in a second. The goal of this inventory is just not to have a million switches. I see people go to Dagannoth Kings and they bring a 5-way switch or something for every Dagannoth King, which is really annoying because you're going to be killing a different one every like 30 seconds or so. So I like to just not have a lot of switches. I think the Fury is worth it over the Zenite jewelry just because it gives you more inventory spaces. You don't actually need all these expensive items. You can bring a blowpipe instead of a twisted bow. You can bring a Slayer helm, obviously, if you're on task, and then you just have to bring some antidote plus because of the poison. You can bring a whip. I do recommend using a tentacle if you can afford it, but if not, a regular whip is okay. A DDS is actually a pretty good spec. And then if you need a little more defense than this, you can bring a crystal shield, a spirit shield, or even the Verax plate skirt is good because it gives you the prayer bonus. If you're a little newer to this, maybe bring a shield or a V skirt, and then once you get a little better at it, bring the Carol skirt. Couple more notes about the gear. I like the RuneScape because of the prayer bonus, which is good here, but you can bring an accumulator instead. I don't recommend Armadillo because Karils doesn't give any negative attack, so that's really convenient. The God boots can be substituted for the Picasians. I like the Ring of Suffering because of the prayer and defense, although you can bring a Ring of the Gods or really any ring. The Archer's Ring is probably the best alternative because range bonus definitely helps here. So I don't really bring any food. The SGS pretty much covers all of it, but if you can't afford one or you're a little bit lower defense, you might want to bring Blood Blitz runes in your rune pouch. Because I don't need them, I just bring Alk runes, but Blood Blitz is definitely your best alternative for HP if you need it. Oh, and of course for magic we'll be using the Trident of the Swamp. You can actually just use a regular trident. It's actually almost as good. You don't really need to spend the extra money on the swamp trident if you don't have it. The last few inventory things to mention is you need a stamina potion to get there easily. The Holy Wrench gives you more prayer. The Imbued Heart is nice if you have it. Gives you a little more magic. If not, it's not a big deal. The Rune Pouch, obviously, the teleports when you want to leave. And then the Pet Rock is good because it lets you get through the gate with just one person. You can get this from the kid in the Fremenic Trials quest. You also need a Rune Throne Axe to get in. The Dagannoth Kings drop these, so you'll be able to stock up on them. I really recommend the Preserve Prayer as well. You can buy a Torn Prayer Scroll from the GE very cheap to unlock this. And so this is my full inventory. So if you're going to Pray Flick at all, I recommend a second Super Combat and Ranging Pot. I'm not going to in this video, but when you're all set to go, you want to basically pre-pot here. So I actually eat an Anglerfish and then a Super Combat Pot, and then drink the Ranging Potion as well. Make sure Preserve is on right at the bank, and then just get new versions of these items. So get a new Angler, and then get a new set of this, and you're all set to go. And this basically gives you 5 sets of potions, which is really, really nice, or at least 5 doses. So getting to Dagannoth Kings is really easy, and most people probably already know how to get there already. But in case you don't, there's a lot of ways. You can put your house in Relica, or use a redirection tab from the Nightmare Zone to go there with a house tab. You can use an Enchanted Lyre, you can use Fremenic Boots, you can use the Teleport to Waterbirth Island spell on Lunar Spellbooks, or you can do what I do and just put a Waterbirth Island teleport portal in your house. So the run through the dungeon is really easy, but I'll just walk you through it really quick, sped up. So once you're on Waterbirth, just head west here, and you'll see the cave very shortly. There's really no necessary time to drink your stamina potion. You don't really need all 4 doses, so you can drink it whenever. So turn on Pray Melee, and then go to these little things in the ground here, drop your rock, put it down, open the door, pick up the rock again. I've actually had people not realize that they can just pick the rock back up, and we're getting them every trip. You can destroy the door support there on the west with the special attack, pray mage, range, no prayer or pray melee, range again, then mage for the next 3 here, and you'll start to remember this a lot once you do this many times. You can drop the rune thrown axe, you don't need it anymore. Go through here, pray melee or range, it doesn't really seem to matter. I usually pray melee. Same thing, these guys won't mage or anything, you can range or melee, they kind of do both. And then once you get through here, just pray melee all through the rock crabs, or rock lobsters I guess, and then pray range. You can pray mage here too, it doesn't really matter, you're going to get attacked by a lot of things. Go over here and then start looking for a world. Another cool feature on RuneLite is something called inventory tags, so if you enable that feature and then you right click your inventory here, configure inventory tags, and you can actually mark these as different groups. So for example, I can have the magic items be blue, the melee items be red, and then the range items be green. It's just kind of easier on your eyes. So this is actually the hardest part of Dagannoth Kings. You have 2 choices. You can either wait for the Dagannoth Kings to look something like this, so if you keep re-entering the ladder, eventually the Dagannoth Kings will look like this, and then you can just kind of circle around the room, and then you can kill Prime first, and then Rex, and then Supreme, and on from there. But I'm kind of lazy to wait for this, and you can take a lot of damage waiting around for this, so this is what I like to do instead. So here's the Yolo method, so you basically just want to pray range, and then go in with Piety, and basically be ready to kill Supreme as quick as possible. So ideally, they're not going to see you both at the same time, so if that happens, just go back up. You at least want a couple moments to have with just Supreme. So go back down again, and here we go. Supreme is going to be there, but he's a little too close to Prime, so I'll go back up again. Let's try this again. Okay, so he's a little bit closer. I can at least start killing him before Prime sees me. This is definitely the messiest part of the trip. You just want to kill this guy as soon as you can. Use your specs if you got them, and just be ready to pray mage. If you can only pray one at once, maybe if you have a laggy connection and you can't pray flick, you just want to pray mage once he sees you, because that's the only one that can actually KO you, whereas Supreme you can actually eat for. So okay, he sees me, I'll pray mage, and then it's pretty easy actually to pray flick them both at the same time. This is me doing it with my left hand, so I'm not doing a great job of it, but look for their animations. Once the animation happens of one of them, switch to the other, and before you know it, Supreme will be dead, and you could start the other 2. And then just pray mage here, and actually don't kill Prime yet. You actually want to go kill Rex, so you do this by just getting his attention and running to this spot. So just keep pray mage on and run to this spot, and then Rex will almost always get safe spotted there. If he does not, like let's say he's more to the right and he's not going to get stuck there, all you have to do is just run to the corner to the left of me, that next corner there. Technically it's north, but on your screen it's left. Then run back to the square I'm in, and he'll be safe spotted. Once he's dead, all you have to do is kill Prime next, so you'll actually get a lot of food drops, so make room for them if you get them. So the order is going to be Prime, Supreme, Rex, Prime, Supreme, Rex, Prime, Supreme, Rex, over and over and over again. So for Prime, you want to actually go northeast as much as you can, because Supreme is going to spawn back by the ladder with his range attack, and you don't want him to see you. So obviously with the twisted bow, or if you have a crossbow or something, this is pretty easy to do because the range is really far. With the blowpipe, it's a little bit trickier. Just really get as far northeast as you possibly can. You see Supreme is back there and you don't want to be anything close to him. You can use long range with the blowpipe if the situation calls for it, but there's also a trick where when you click to attack with the blowpipe, your character will actually run 1 square closer than you actually need to be to still attack with it. So try walking back a square and attacking again, and you should still be able to shoot without having to move. So once Prime is dead, you want to go kill Supreme next, and because Rex spawns in 23 seconds in the middle of the room, you want to actually stand on the ladder side of Supreme, because then Rex will almost always never see you. This one is pretty generous. The only time you might have an issue is if Supreme is in like really the center of the room. That doesn't happen very often, and if it does, you can either just tank it or pray flick them, which is pretty easy. So lastly is Rex, which is really easy. Hit him once and then run to the square, and you could hit him a couple times as he comes over, and most of the time he will be safe spotted. The only time you might have a problem is if he's really far south or maybe west, and then you can just run again to that northwest corner there, the next corner up north, and then run back to the square, and maybe just pray melee when you do that, and he'll be stuck in here. Very easy to do. So if you look on the left, you'll see that Prime is going to spawn, and Prime will not see you right away in this spot. Generally, he will take about 30 seconds to see you. Sometimes he'll take not that long to see you. It's basically random. If he starts walking over to you, he will see you, but this usually takes a while. But when Prime is spawned, you do have to pay attention here, because this is the one clip I actually had where he did see me, I'm pretty sure. Most clips he does not, but if you look here, he does see me, so just be ready with the Prey Mage. Most of the time you'll be able to kill him in time, but just in case, you want to have that Prey Mage ready. And then you just repeat, you go northeast again here, and redo the cycle. So yeah, it's actually really easy to do this solo. As long as your stats are decent enough where you're getting the kills within a reasonable amount of time, you shouldn't have too much of a problem with this. I'll walk you through a couple cycles just so you get the full idea of what it looks like. So if you have the SGS, always use your specs on Supreme. Even if you're full HP, it's good to get that prayer back. And of course, if you don't have it, if you need HP, you can use Blood Blitz on the Spinallops surrounding the room. Otherwise, it's good to have the Fremnik Elite Diary done for the Noted Bones. That really increases the profit. Here's the safe spot correction there. You might want to bring a couple extra food, especially for the beginning if you're new to this. With my method, you should be able to get around 100 kills within around 90 minutes or so using this method, but if you want your trips to last longer, you can flick Rigor, or flick Piety, or flick Eagle Eye, obviously, depending on what you have. This will speed up your trips a lot, but again, I actually enjoy these kind of quick Dagannoth Kings trips. I don't want to be here for like hours and hours and hours, and it actually doesn't take too long to bank and get more supplies, so I don't usually prayer flick, but if I want to do really long trips, then I will flick Piety. You don't really need to kind of one-tick flick. That would really be too much effort for this place. So here's the 2 out of 3 method if you're a bit lower level and you might have trouble killing all 3. So you have to get to the east side without Supreme noticing you, and then once you do that, you want to kill Prime if he's on you, and same thing, stay by the ladder because you don't want him to get on you. If Prime or Supreme are on you, they can attack you from anywhere in the arena. It's just a question of, are they going to notice you or not first? Once Prime is dead, we're going to do a different Rex safe spot, so get his attention, go all the way east here, let him smack you once, you can pray melee obviously, and then run to this square, and this will be your safe spot. The interesting thing about this is that if Prime is not on you, he will actually never see you here, so you can actually be like very safe here. The only thing that will ever attack you is the Spinallops, but like I said, if Prime or Supreme are already attacking you, going to this spot is not going to make them stop attacking you, which can be the problem if you're having trouble getting in. But if you can make it here and kill Prime and then kill Rex, you're pretty much good to go. After that, it's pretty much rinse and repeat with Prime and Rex really won't see you either when you're killing Prime unless you get really close. This is a really good method for lower levels. I used to do this back in 2013 all the time. The only real issue with it is it's kind of hard to get the drops from Prime because he's kind of far away. I recommend bringing maybe Telegrab, or you don't really need the drops. You probably don't have Noted Bones if you're doing this method. If you get a Seer's Ring, then you might just have to reset the room or something, or maybe be really careful about going and getting it. So yeah, that's really all there is to it. It's quite simple. I've made a lot of money at Dagannoth Kings, several hundred million. I really think it's over 3 mil per hour based on some of my loot calculations in previous videos. If you haven't seen them, I'll put my Dagannoth Kings playlist in the end screen, where I just make absolute bank every single video from these guys. The Noted Bones helps, but you don't necessarily need it. It just adds a little bit of extra guaranteed money. I do recommend getting it in the long run if you're going to go for the pet. The pet, of course, is 1 in 5,000. I've killed over 12,000 of these guys, so I'm a little bit unlucky, but at least I did get the Supreme one. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them for you. Please hit the like button if you found this guide helpful. That really helps out the channel. You can also subscribe if you haven't already and hit the bell to get notifications whenever I upload, usually every Tuesday. You can join my clan chat, AndrewAJT62, that'll be up on screen. We actually have people who go duo and trio Dagannoth Kings fairly often. That's a really good way to start out if you're new. Thank you to tehpanda for the really amazing thumbnail for this video. You can join my RuneScape Discord down below. You can follow me on Twitter down below for updates, and I'll follow you back if you play OS. You can follow me on Twitch down below, and you can check out that Dagannoth Kings playlist in the end screen. And lastly, you can support the channel on Patreon in the end screen if you're feeling generous. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.